I want to give you a look today at the setup that I use for my kayak fishing. There's a lot of different ways out there you can set them up, and some are way more expensive than others. But this is how I did it, kind of on the cheap, but I think it gets the job done. What I've got is the Pelican Ultimate 100 SE Angler. It's the same exact thing as the Ultimate 100, but this one has a couple of rod holders they add to it. You can see how I have it set up. I carry 3 rods. There's 2 rod holders in the back, and it does come with one mounted in the front, which I did not find terribly useful just because it's so far from where I sit in the cockpit that I'd rather just have one in my lap. I've also got it set up in the back with a power source so that I can run the Garmin depth finder. It does have sonar capabilities too. I've got the transducer mounted on the inside of the hull to keep it from getting too messed up with all the weeds when I'm going through a lot of shallows. I don't run real expensive gear because I'm constantly underneath a bunch of trees and getting underneath overhangs, so things can get a little messy, and if I'm running a $300 rod, I don't feel so good about that. I do also find with this kayak, storage is not exactly plentiful, so I end up running my tackle bag between my legs. When I'm paddling, I'll run a pole between my legs there, and I do find that the PFD is really important. This one has enough room to put a lot of things that I need on there. It's got my knife, my hemos, flashlight. In here I carry my whistle and a set of clippers for cutting line. I normally would probably honestly run my PFD in the back in the milk crate, but I found this to be so useful that I can just have it all in one place and just have everything at my fingertips. The seat is not what I would consider highly ergonomic. However, it is adjustable with the straps here on both sides, and you can change the kind of the inclination of the back. That does help a little bit. I did run my wiring from my depth finder through the kayak into the back into an ammo can that's fairly waterproof. I've got the battery mounted in there with servo tape, and it's weighted on this side, so where I had to drill a hole, it'll tip back if I ever did spill it over, and this side should float down. But honestly, if I'm in the drink, I got bigger problems than that. Overall, I would say it's done very well for what I paid for it. I think I paid $250 at Dunham's on a clearance, maybe $30 for the paddle. So I would probably go, just personally, I would probably go with a sit on top next time. I'm a pretty tall guy, so I end up having feeling a little cramped inside, so that would probably be the next way that I would go. But for what I've asked of it so far, it's done really well. Haven't had a ton of complaints. Beside the super fancy milk crate, a couple of things that I added were the anchor trolley system. I think this is really valuable. If you don't know what that is, what you can do is you can change the point that the anchor runs through by sliding this loop back and forth on the hull and then locking it in place over here. I added that, and I also added these cleats. So generally that's the setup. If you have any specific questions about how I would do things differently, go ahead and ask. But I think for significantly less than $1,000 invested, this is a pretty nice rig that I can throw up and down off the top of my car. The dry weight is 38 pounds. The capacity is 275. So once I'm loaded down, I'm probably pretty close to pushing that. I weigh about 2 1/4. So once I get a bunch of gear on there, it's going to be pretty close to the max. I haven't had any stability issues. The hull design seems to lend itself to a fairly stable platform. But I wanted to just do a little walk around, show you what I've been using, and see if anybody had any tips of other space-saving options they've used on these. I don't find that I use this area very much while I'm fishing. I'll put stuff in there like my wallet and things that I don't need to get to right away. It is not a dry box, but that lid has never given me any problems. So this is the Ultimate 100 SE Angler by Pelican, and I think for the minimal amount I've invested, it's done pretty well.